Okay, well, welcome to the May 2024 fifth Wednesday meeting of Albany CERT. And my name is Raymond Yee. And with that, tonight we can, a small group and good to go around and introduce ourselves before we jump into the topics of tonight. I see
Okay, well,
come on up.
I'll follow on you. So Nick Peterson, I'm also on the board of Albany CERT Inc., which is a nonprofit 501c3 community group committed to helping Albany get prepared for any major disaster. So we work directly with Albany Fire Department and have several members that are quite active in doing activity. Would love to have more active members. Michael, do you want to?
I'm a CERT member, also a volunteer on the Hill for restoration and for monarch butterfly monitoring. And I'm also a volunteer radio operator if it ever turns out that a disaster needs radio. Our groups will certainly be ready. So basically volunteer for all things resilience related. How I frame it, or try to be.
Okay, my name is Susan Clifford, and I'm on the organizing team, and I attend all the workshops that are reminders of what we learned originally. I try and stay up to date, and I really appreciate the work that the gentlemen who just introduced themselves do for the organization and for the community. Over.
Thank you, Susan.
Good radio call there. This is Blake Yeaman. I'm the president of Albany CERT. I'm also an instructor, and we're just finished the seventh session of our new CERT class, and it's exciting. We have next week on Tuesday we have our CERT final, so we'll have some more CERT grads to add to our collection of great people.
Yeah, so we're just, I think that was everyone that's with Albany CERT. I guess Nona kind of is, but Jack Rolls, you want to talk about yourself?
Well, I'm Jack Rolls, and I'm probably the newest kid on the block outside of the ones going through CERT now. And I'm enjoying the opportunity to be involved with the organization and trying to help out wherever Blake needs me.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Why don't we go on to Susie?
I'm Susie Barnes, and I'm the block captain for the 900 block of Ramona.
Oh, cool, a block captain. Yay.
Hey, we need block captains.
Oh, yeah. And I see a person, RY initials. Are you able to?
That's me, my phone.
Oh, that's your phone.
I'm connected by phone to possibly.
Oh, I should have figured that out. Yeah. And then how about Melanie Matthews?
Melanie's mic is muted. There we go.
There she goes. Is there a Melanie Matthews, or is that someone else? Maybe their mic doesn't work. Well, okay, welcome. I don't recognize the name, but hopefully they're an Albany person and they're interested in CERT. How about you, Nona?
We're introducing ourselves.
Yeah, we're just kind of introducing who, since it's such a small group, it'd be kind of nice to people to say who's who. Okay, so
Israel.
Let's do Israel. Are you an Albany person?
Yeah, I'm in Albany. I'm at Cornell in Washington. My first CERT meeting.
Perfect. Welcome.
Are you CERT trained? Have you done the training class?
I haven't done anything.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys have been on my radar. I've been at the community, like Albany Community Day. I've chatted with folks.
Yep.
So wanted to get more involved.
Great. Welcome.
Yeah, he's a neighbor.
Jack, and I see Jack there from across the street.
Oh, there you go.
Ah, good.
Good representation from your neighborhood. Nona, I think I heard you jump in. Do you want to say how you're involved with CERT?
Oh, sure. Sorry. Just getting ready. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Nona.
Hi, I'm Nona. I live on Carmel Ave. And I joined CERT last year, I think. Right, Blake?
Yeah,
I can't remember now the exact date.
something like that. I think it was probably, yeah, a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see Brett has joined us. Brett, do you want to you're a block captain, right? We're just doing little introductions since we have we only have like 12 people, so.
Okay. Sorry, my lighting's terrible here, but yeah, so I'm Brett Shepard, also a block captain on the Pomona 1000 block of Pomona, so just south of Moran Avenue. Yeah, part of the Albany CERT group.
Oh, good. I think everyone who's a block captain has said they're a block captain, right?
I did not say, but I'm also a block captain. Yes, for the hillside,
So am I. Yeah,
Albany Hill.
that's good. We need more block captains.
We need more.
So maybe back in Israel, maybe we can convince you to become block captains.
Melanie texts in the chat window that her mic isn't working, but that she can hear us. And
Okay, good.
you might want to check your chat window. I won't speak for her.
I'd like to throw out one point about block captains is, it's a critical job, and we lost a lot over the pandemic time and through the last decade of people moving out of Albany and we're growing older, not being able to do it. So we're really trying to reinvigorate it. And one thing is you don't have to feel intimidated to be a block captain if you form a block team of 3 people or 4 people or 5 people that want to work together to manage the block captain, because when an emergency hits, somebody might not be in town. And so it's good to have redundancy in your block. So consider that, all of the block captains, having some other people invited to join your team.
I guess that makes me a block captain alternate, since I think I'm like the 3rd one, but the other 2 ahead of me are both older.
So what do you think of you as a block captain, Mike?
No, but I think what Blake said is good, that my block is stronger for having 3 or 4 of us who are active.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a good reminder.
That Jack's block is going to be that. Jack and Israel's block is going to be that way.
Yeah.
And I guess also, if I got that right, that also includes Melanie.
Yeah, she mentioned she's from the same block. Well, she's from the same class, CERT class.
It's just really good if you have support that you don't have to go around the corner and you can talk to people.
So I guess the last person that's on this Zoom session that hasn't spoken is Sally Yoshida. And we've got, Susan came back. So Sally, did you want to say anything about where you're at in your interest in community emergency response team?
So the question is my interest in today's meeting, or?
Yeah, just what's brought you here, and have you done CERT training? Or are you involved?
Yeah. So I was CERT trained, I guess 2 cycles ago, maybe 3 cycles ago. So I just joining just to hear what's going on and if there's any new updates or anything like that.
Do you have a captain in your area?
That I don't know. I'm on Santa Fe between Francis and Marin.
Ooh.
That's actually around the corner from me. So that's interesting. Yeah. Santa Fe, Francis. Yeah,
that's the block with Marin School.
Yeah, the block with Marin School. Yeah, exactly. So I know there's somebody, Susie Barnes, I think is her name, on Ramona, the 1000 block of Ramona.
Susie's
Right.
right.
Susie's
Before-
waving her finger right at you right now.
Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, we're basically right around the corner from you, Susie and me. I'm on Pomona. She's on Ramona. So, yeah,
So
it's just good to know who's nearby.
Yeah,
Are you-
well, and
are you-
consider becoming a block captain.
Yeah, and we're happy to help out if that's helpful. Yeah.
So our block captains, it has to be for the street that we're living on.
Yes.
Helps.
I see. Okay.
And you
Yeah,
have to be
usually-
willing to identify yourself if a new person comes to your block. At least in theory, that person might call the fire department and ask, or they might call us and ask, who is my, hey, I hear you got a block captain program. Who's my block captain? You have to be willing to let Captain Tim or one of us disclose your name and address or phone number to this newcomer who arrives in town who would like to know. And that's on the Albany City website, that we have a block captain programmer and that newcomers can find their block captain this way. So a block captain has to be willing to be found. Nick,
That makes
anything
sense.
else about that?
Well, I'm thinking maybe we jump in and have, we start the normal program, but why don't we plan on, I mean, I'm sure we'll have a period of time to talk about block captain, and I can say more about that then. I don't want to, can we
Okay.
turn it back over to you, Raymond, and you can do your presentation?
Yeah. So as we advertised, one of the main topics tonight is disaster preparedness apps. And what I want to do tonight is to reuse a really nice slide deck from the Berkeley Disaster Preparedness Network. Leah Greenbaum, who was emergency services coordinator in the city of Berkeley, gave a talk in the fall, I think in November. And in that slide deck, she outlines various useful apps. And what I want to do is present that slide deck, but also intersperse that with the demos of those apps from my phone. So I'm not going to try to do the demos live, even though I have my phone ready to go in case there's an interest in specific app. But I recorded my using those apps very briefly this morning, and I didn't have a chance to edit the video. So the video is not very tight, but I'll probably jump around the video a bit and say, this is kind of boring, or, oh, I was futzing around here, but let me jump ahead. And so that's what we're going to do first. As the first major topic tonight. Okay, sound good?
Yeah.
Also coming to you from a hotel room in Washington, D.C. So I'm a bit tired of a day meeting. So that's part of the reason I recorded my using a phone this morning. So hopefully it'll be smoother than if I were to do that tonight. Okay.
Thank you, Raymond, for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm gonna share my screen. And show you the slide deck. Okay. So everyone see the slides? This is entitled, there's an app for that. Key phone apps for emergency prepared readiness.
Yeah, we see it in sort of
Yes.
presenter mode.
Yes.
Okay. I can do, you can view it, show it in slideshow. Let's see if this,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sure Leah Greenbaum told some interesting stories about the slides, about the history of emergency alert technology. I'll just let your imagination run with this slide to think about the past and all the ways in which people must have told each other about dire situations. I'm going to jump to the topic for tonight, which are phone apps. So in the year 2024, many of us use smartphones, and it's almost hard to exist in modern society without using them. So phone apps are an important part of lives, including in how we inform each other in terms of disasters, emergency alerts. So what Leah showed, she picked out these apps, MyShake for, I'll talk about them specifically, but MyShake for earthquake alerting, Everbridge, the Genesis Project, EPA, AirNow, and Heat Index as official government resources. And then she also mentions other apps that could be useful for learning about what's going on. Okay, so MyShake is an app that is geared to alerting us about earthquakes. And I think some of its functionality is actually being integrated in Android and iOS more directly. But I'm gonna just demonstrate the MyShake app. I'm gonna switch over to, sorry about this. I thought I would jump right to the screen here. Okay. Put this in full screen. And okay, now I'm gonna run the video part about MyShake. Let me demo the MyShake app on my Pixel 8 phone. Launch the app. Comes up. Reason you're seeing a dot in Washington, D.C. is that's the location on my phone right now. And I zoom out, you can see reports of earthquakes around the world.
You can see some live ones there in
you can see
California.
the earthquake list. Earthquake as a list. The reports of earthquakes as a list. One thing I want to show you is the settings settings menu, where you can do things like look at where your home base location is, and you can edit it that way. I'll delete what I had set up. I just want to show you you can see throughout the demo that I had a hard time typing Albany, California, different times. And that Albany, California often doesn't show up very easily until you type California. That's one thing I learned. Voila. Okay, so that is MyShake.
Can we ask a question about that before you go on to
Sure. Yes.
So I think I have this one too. Can you set it to do notifications? Like you could, I think you can set it to a certain earthquake level and then have notifications. Is that right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. There's also a bit of interactiveness with this in that they do accept, like if there is a local earthquake, they ask if you felt it, and you can send in information. So there's sort of citizen science stuff happening. You can help report earthquake motion. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hooked into UC Berkeley.
You can also have it be monitoring in the background pretty actively, where it can, because my understanding of how the MyShake network works is that your phone, there are a lot of these phone apps out there, and they can serve as a sensor network. And so you can, the app is geared to detecting sudden shakes and then sending that information back to the central servers. So you can set your app to be monitoring more tightly and sending that information back. The downside of doing that is that it's a bigger battery drain. And so I noticed that this morning and I decided to not tune back the level of monitoring because I didn't want to drain my battery. So it's a bit of trade-off. You can contribute more of your data if you are willing to let the battery drain a bit more. Michael?
I wanted to comment that on one occasion I got a warning and I didn't feel anything. I looked it up later and the earthquake was too far away. On another occasion, my shake didn't give me a warning, and I went to it deliberately to report it, and it has the nice way of like, how strong did it feel and when did I feel it? It's hard to demo something like that, Raymond, that only happens when it happens.
Yes.
But I've experienced that twice.
Yeah. But I couldn't cook up an earthquake to demo tonight. You can be thankful that I couldn't do that. So, okay. Well, the other thing I should have said earlier is that a lot of these apps I have installed in my phone, but I don't consider myself an expert in any of these apps, except for the last thing I'll show, which is how to use Google Maps to have offline maps. And that's something that I've used a lot and I can speak a bit more authoritatively on.
Well, before we get to offline maps, Raymond, I had one more brief comment, which is I'm pretty much a stickler about privacy, but my shake is an exception. I opened up everything, let it know where I am. I trust, for better or worse, I trust the Berkeley Seismic Lab. That's who's getting my data. I'm inclined to think that they'll respect it. You have to make your own decisions about whether or not you leave it on all the time or only when. I would leave it on all the time for the benefit of it giving you a warning that it thinks that it may be able to give you 10 seconds. In theory, it might give you 10 seconds warning.
Thank you for that point, Michael. Nona?
Yeah, Keith Knudsen is the earth scientist with the U.S. Geological Society. He was a speaker at our a recent CERT refresher course. He actually recommended my shake.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will move on to the next app. Okay, Everbridge. So Everbridge is let me just read this off. It's a supporting software for AC Alert and Nixle. And so there are other interfaces for actually signing up for AC Alert and Nixle. I won't cover that here. I just want to show you the Everbridge app. I don't know if any of you out there are actively using the Everbridge app. I don't, but I'll show you how anyways. So. Next up is Everbridge. Again, the app comes up showing me in Washington, D.C. Let's type in Albany. I might just jump ahead here. Albany, California doesn't seem to come up very easily until you type Albany CA. And you can see reports right now in Fremont. I want to show you how to enroll in a feed. This shows you that I already enrolled in various feeds around the 94706 zip code. I'll just show
It
you
looks like,
if I type in
I'm sorry.
94706. I
Yeah, it
presented
looks
a
like there's
series of options about what I can. So yeah, I find it puzzling that these are the things that come up for 94706, and I don't know if there's supposed to be something with Albany.
So I'll check it out. I'll find out from the fire department what they know about it.
Okay.
Well, all of these, if there's an AC alert subscription, it should show up here. And if I recall correctly, there should be an Albany fire. That's puzzling.
And Albany police would be good.
So other people can verify it when you try it, subscribe to, and I'm gonna subscribe. The last option here, my feed, and
Yeah.
again, if I hit local and navigate to the map of the Bay Area, I'll see some local activities. I can zoom in closer to home. So that's Everbridge.
Yeah, it looks like Albany, the city of Albany specifically doesn't, you go 94706, get Alameda County Fire Department, Berkeley Police, Berkeley City, Kensington Fire Protection District, and Kensington Police. But nothing from Albany. Which I don't know if that means they're not participating or what.
Yeah, and it's a good thing to find out.
So it wasn't puzzling like when we were speaking in a Berkeley context, but certainly for Albany, it's something that we'll have to figure out. Okay, Anna, I see you raise your hand.
Yeah, I sign up with AC Alert directly, so I get a text message from them. Like bad air quality or storm, something. Yeah, I don't think I have them through Everbridge. So they send me a text and then they send me an email. So, yeah.
I'd like to say that this is why I went to Everbridge, is because of exactly what Nona just said. When the fire struck Albany Hill, it's now almost 2 years ago, I received those texts, and then I had to, but I could not read the whole message in the text window, at least in my system, at least on my phone, at least at that time. The texts were cut off at 140 characters, and it was basically, the text had this effect of being a notification to check my email, which was very inconvenient to be checking my email while I'm out wondering if I need to evacuate. I got Everbridge, and it was a pain to install, I will say. I got Everbridge because I didn't want to end up I wanted it all on one screen, the way Raymond, the way the slide shows, without having to open up another app, without having to open up my Gmail on my phone. It may be that I'm too picky, but that's why I ended up sort of starting all over again with Everbridge.
Yeah, thank you for that perspective.
Raymond, I have a quick question. So you're showing this feed here. My feed just keeps stopping. Have I not registered myself properly to be able to see what you see?
I didn't have anything on my feed, actually.
That's just the slide. I see. That's the slide. Okay.
That's
yeah.
right.
Because the map keeps flipping back. Every time I click the map to see, it just keeps coming back to the front page. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs someone has expert stuff. We could share that later.
I'm gonna, as a placeholder, I would really like if a city staff member, Sid is who I'm thinking of, who first told us about Everbridge and who first said it just works better. And it turned out I took his advice and I agreed with him once I got it installed. I asked Leia the same question, the person who prepared this. She said she had to start over again with a new AC Alert account to make it work.
Oh,
It's a bit of a hassle, but like I said, if I had had that, I would have had the AC alerts more readable at a stressful moment when I was on my feet outdoors and it's a what was that, a 7 alarm?
Nick, you have your hand up.
Yeah, actually, I was sort of going through the process. I noticed that AC Alert doesn't automatically pop up when you look for feeds, but you have to search for AC Alert, not by zip code. Then you can find it, and then you can log in, and then it links. So yeah, it seems like there's a little bit more savviness required. It isn't quite automatic. Unless certain organizations have signed up underneath their zip code.
We wanted to get Leia to come tonight and talk to all of us directly, the one who prepared these slides. And Raymond discovered that she's transferred to San Francisco and she no longer works in Berkeley OES, Office of Emergency Services. So I'm still looking for someone who can demo the install from start to finish.
Okay, let's move on to the next app. So Genesis Protect, and this is something that we've known, many of us have known as Zone Haven, as what it was used to be called. And this is it's a live interactive map that divides the city of Berkeley and also Albany into planned evacuation zones. And as we've said in previous meetings, it's very helpful if you know what zone you live in. So, because often the alerts are sent out based on those zones. So let me show that app, the Genesis Protect app, in action here. Next up is the Genesis Protect application. You can access Genesis information on the normal website, but you can also use an app. I'm going to show you the Genesis app on Android. I launch it, brings me to the home page, which shows a bunch of things. One, it indicates my current location, which is in Washington, D.C., but also shows saved locations. I live on Jackson Street in Albany Hill. So let me show that to you on the map. I can hit the more detail button here. That zips me to Albany Hill on this map. I'm going to actually hit the view on map to show the larger map. But before I do that, I'm just going to scroll through the app to show you what information I can get about my safe location in Albany E012 zone, the Albany E12 zone. Put the view on the map and we'll close that little pop-up and actually show you the various Albany and Berkeley zones. A lot of other things you can do with this app, including looking at fires. So if I hit fire or sort, I can have a sort by distance. Remember, I'm in Washington, D.C., so the distance is the distance of the fires from Washington, D.C. here. I click on one of the fires. It'll show me on the map where it is. Voila. Well, that is Genesis Protect. Any questions or discussion about that app?
Just to add, oh, I want to add just a little color, if I
yes.
could.
Go ahead.
There's, if you zoom in, you'll see that Albany Hill is carved into 2 zones. If you zoom in, you can see how the neighborhoods are. Nick has sometimes remarked how they tried to follow some of the neighborhoods that are known in Albany, and to some degree it mirrors the census map. But there are enough zones nowadays that you have to zoom in to get enough detail to see how the hill is carved up. Not every part of the hill would be evacuated. The hope is that only parts of the hill would have, or only parts of Albany would have to be evacuated, not all of Albany.
Mhm. Yes. Nona?
Yeah, I'm looking at I have Genesis and gave me zone information. And then under community links, it says follow Alameda official sources, county alerts. I click that. And it actually tells me, it says confirm, would you like to complete your registration in the Everbridge mobile safety app?
Wow.
So, so you can sign through this app for Everbridge. Interesting. Through Genesis. Is that how you got to Everbridge?
No, that's new, I think. Nona, if you end up following those links, I'd love to know if it works for you.
Yeah, so I said yes. Then it took me to the Google Play. I'm right on the Everbridge app and just press install, which I will. Yeah, that's it.
It's a way to get Everbridge, but will your AC alerts come in smoothly, or will you have to pick them one by one?
Yeah. Looking if there's an AC alert on the yeah,
That's a new feature, I think. One thing about phone apps is that if you don't like them this week, you might want to check next week.
And maybe there's upgrades.
Yeah.
No, that sounds like a new feature to me.
So
there was one other point that I wanted to make here. Some people are like, where's the Zone Haven app? And if you go to Google Play or Apple, the iPhone App Store, and you look for Zone Haven, you might get nothing. And so the name change is significant in that you have to search for Genesis with a Y.
Okay, let's look at the next app after Genesis. This one, the EPA Air Now, is very useful for demonstrating, showing air quality. And you can go to the browser version, fire.airnow.gov, or you can use the app, which I'll show you now. Now I will demo the. Oh, don't give out on me. I have the video downloaded already. I think I may have to switch over to that. Hold on, I will do that. So even a video recording doesn't help here. So I'm gonna switch to download. Oops. 6 minutes or so. Now I will demo the EPA Air Now app. Fire up the app. And we see a panel about Albany, California. In contrast to the other apps that I've shown you, which use the location data to center me. The reason this brings up, the app brings up Albany, California, is that I had already added it to my places. So this was useful because many of us live in Albany, California. I want to show you here what you can see. This is right now 8 a.m. Eastern time, 8:52 8 a.m. Eastern time. So 5:52 a.m. Eastern time. Got a bit confused here. 4 a.m. PDT? I'm a bit confused here. Anyway, you can see, I'm sorry, 4 a.m. is when the data is from. And you can see that right now, air quality is good in Albany. If I bring you to the map, you can get a larger picture of air quality in the Bay Area. And I zoom out here. You can see the air quality is good in California right now. Sorry, I don't know why the bubbles disappeared. Maybe a technical glitch of demoing the app. Anyways, a little glitchy demo here, but I think you get the point that you can load the EPA map from your app here and see the air quality. I think there's also a smoke map here that goes along. There's a smoke button in the lower right. So I don't know if any of you use this app. In this window here. Okay, so that's the EPA Air Now app. I hope put something that remains not so interesting, because usually people turn to these types of apps when like air quality declines and you're trying to figure out what's happening. Next app is this OSHA heat safety tool. My phone. Let me zip ahead to look. Take a look at the OSHA heat safety tool. Launch the heat app. And the heat app uses the location, my current location. Again, I'm in Washington, D.C. It's in the morning. And it's a beautiful morning and it's cool. It's only 66 Fahrenheit right now. So we're in the caution area rather than the warning or danger area. By the hourly button. You get a forecast of what the heat conditions are predicted to be during the day. Nice day in DC today. I'll be able to tell you how well the forecast actually worked. It was a nice day. Symptoms. In case it is a really hot day. Symptoms to look out for. First aid button. And there are other things, which I will leave for your exploration. Any questions, comments about the heat safety tool?
Raymond?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking at the links here, and these apps are fantastic, and I love having them. Sometimes they don't always keep up, and the developers, lose interest or something happens. But so we probably have to watch these. I'm looking at the OSHA and the Apple one, and it's this one, and it gives 2 stars by 253 people total review. So I don't know if that means anything. I'm still gonna download it and check it, but something to be aware of. Sometimes apps might be good at times and they morph or they change. So this is good to know. All this is good to know. Thank you.
Thanks, Blake. That's a good point. I've been just demoing the app on my Android phone, and so I don't know how things look on the iPhone. I'll do that installation and check that out later. Right. I don't know if there is more time, if we want to spend more time with these apps, but I made a few more videos based on the apps that Leah has shown. So Nextdoor, I think people know what that is. You can use that as a possible source of neighborhood information. I didn't make a video of that because I took the lead of Leah, who she blanked out her Nextdoor stuff because there's not much point in showing the stuff in this demo, because it might be information about neighbors and privacy leaking, etc. But no, I find sometimes Nextdoor useful to get the scuttlebutt of what's happening in the neighborhood. But of course, you have to use your judgment in assessing all the stuff that's coming from your neighbors. Watch duty.
Hey, Raymond, I had a question about Nextdoor.
Mhm.
When I first started using Nextdoor, you'd actually get a map, and you could actually see who had who had signed up for Nextdoor, and they had a certain level of access. Some people would allow you to see what was going on there, but it seems like they've changed that now, and now it's just more like a communication portal. There doesn't seem to be the map aspect anymore. Am I right about that?
I don't know. I know what you mean about the app. I mean about the map. I used to see a map, and I haven't tried looking for the map recently. In fact, my usage of Nextdoor has dropped quite a bit in the last year, so I'm actually much less familiar what's happening in Nextdoor. So I know if anyone else knows the answer to the next question.
My impression was you still get some control over things, but not as much as before. And my impression is that an algorithm is now in charge of deciding whether someone is near enough to you or relevant enough to you. So that's kind of vague, but I did just get the same general idea that Nick got, that I used to have more control over who would see it and what I would see.
I get the sense that they're on my feed, and Nextdoor is starting to see posts from a lot more neighborhoods, that some of them are pretty far away from me, and whereas the older Nextdoor seem to be more tightly geographically bound in the neighborhood. That's my vague impression of what's happening. So, but I don't know what that's actually the fact. That's just my impression.
I have the same impression. I used to, when I lived in a different neighborhood, I only got that neighborhood, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So that's Nextdoor. We'll just show you a video for Watch Duty. Next up is Watch Duty, which Lee Greenbaum noted is not an official resource. but I will demo it here. We bring it up. Actually shows you a map of California with some active fires. If I hit the near me button, it will use the location of my phone right now, which is in Washington, D.C. Zips me to the East Coast. Let's look for some active fires here. Actually, I don't know how much data it has about fires on the East Coast, but as I go west, you'll see fires in Colorado, Arizona, back in California. You can click on a specific fire and I'll give you some details about that fire.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sylvia was careful to note that's not an official resource, but still seems to be a very helpful app here. It's run, WatchDuty is run by a 501c3 nonprofit operated by trained volunteer reporters and scanners. It's a citizen app, also not an official resource. A little demo of that. Next on the list is the citizen app. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I just want to show you in action. I bring it up, uses the location to display information about Washington, D.C., the specific surrounding areas for me. I can search places. So let's try Albany. The zip ahead because I was having trouble. Albany, California. Never mind. This is taking longer than I wanted to. And I gave up. So I'm gonna stop here. Okay. I don't know if any of you use Citizen. I will move on to the next one. So the American Red Cross actually provides a series of apps. Nona, you have your hand raised?
I just wanted to say that in the Air Now app, you can actually see, it'll tell you the closest fire. There's a map that shows you know, the fire symbol.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't actually need a separate app for that. Like if you look below, it says smoke. And just click that. And it'll tell you where the closest fire is. Yeah, right now everything is green. No purple, no orange.
Yay.
So happy.
Thank you, Nona. I think when I hit that smoke button, trying to record my phone, it didn't work. So I didn't get that far. Thank you for pointing that out. So the American Red Cross has a series of apps, including like first aid, a pet first aid, and emergency preparedness. And so I would just show you a couple of those apps very briefly by recording. Now I will show you some information about the American Red Cross apps. There are a bunch of apps that are tied to the American Red Cross. So I go to the Play Store on Android. I type in Red Cross, and you'll see a list of some of these apps. The blood donor app that will show you how to donate blood, where to do so, how to schedule appointments. First aid. There's a pet first aid. I'm gonna show you quickly the first aid app and the pet first aid. We have those installed. So the first aid app, you'll see a list of different conditions. And you can click on any of them to get more information about how to deal with those situations. So for example, concussion, with emergency steps, like give care and frequently asked questions. There are quizzes, help you learn more about these conditions. Trainings you can do through the American Red Cross, stories. Encourage you to explore that app. And the other app I just want to briefly show you is the pet first aid version. Scroll through the different conditions that are relevant to pet first aid. How you can prepare emergencies, quizzes, pets, information, but place you can store information about your pets in the app. Michael and I were talking about these American Red Cross apps, and he was noting how deep some of these apps are, and we have a lot of information. So it's something it's definitely worth installing, taking a look at. Any questions, comments about the American Red Cross apps?
I did want to comment that the emergency app, we saw that quiz about learning about pet first aid. The emergency app had a number of quizzes and basic training. I don't know if training is the right word, but education about preparedness. There was more material there than I could exhaust in 10 minutes of browsing it. A person could get quite involved in any of these, including the emergency app that you'll take our word for it, I guess. There's quite a bit about prep in there, and there's a lot of self-guided how if you want to set it up, it'll step you through a bunch of home prep steps.
Thank you, Michael. So that was the last app that Leah mentioned, and I think Michael identified for me that Leah had talked about one other very helpful feature of phone apps, which is how you can store offline maps, and I want to demonstrate that for you in the last bit of video that I have. Nick, you have your hand raised?
Well, all of this kind of, yeah, you had a quick sort of very broad general question, which it all kind of begs the question of whether you can keep your phone alive during an emergency to use these apps, and if there will be, the information still being loaded up and available.
Yes, very good question about both how to keep your phone alive, charged, and then whether the apps are available, like how much they depend on a live network connection. And so those are really good points. I think just specifically about the offline apps, which I just want to demonstrate for you right now, that the whole purpose is to allow you to be able to still use Google Maps when you don't have a network connection. And so I've used this feature specifically when I was driving through different like rural areas where it wasn't guaranteed a good network connection. But I also found it useful to download local maps. Like I have the Bay Area as an offline map, so it's just great to have that when you don't always have network connectivity. So let me just show you that section of the video.
Regarding the battery thing
One
too,
thing
don't
that-
forget,
Sorry.
just quickly, I just want to note on the battery thing, don't forget in emergency, you can always charge in your car, right? You've got a battery there and you can run the car and recharge it. And you have a radio in there, so you can always tune in. So it's easy to forget. We take it for granted, but it's, that is a resource to use. So just something to keep in mind. Kind of obvious, but
reminder. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, isn't in the slide deck, but was apparently discussed at Berkeley Ready. The presentation was the use of offline maps. In a big emergency, we can imagine that you won't have access to cellular networks or Wi-Fi, but you still want to be able to navigate. I don't know how many of you know about the feature of offline maps available in Google Maps. I'm going to demonstrate to you how to download an offline map in Google Maps here. So I'm going to launch Google Maps. This will bring up Washington, D.C. because that's where I am. I can then show you the offline maps by hitting the icon, the settings, which where my face is. Click on that. And then I'm going to click on the offline maps. This will bring up a list of offline maps I already have. So I'm going to show you how to select my own map area here. I'm just going to go with default. Actually, I'm going to show you how you can zoom the region in and out and select an area. Once happy with the area that I want, I'm going to hit the download button. You can see downloading. What you'll see in the recording is the download status, 48%, 100%, done.
This is Google Maps.
This is Google Maps, then turn off. This is Google Maps. I haven't tried other apps like Apple Maps or whether that has a similar feature. Michael?
Yes, we need a volunteer who's mainly iPhone, who can show what Raymond is showing of how to do it with Apple Maps. I'm 99% sure that Apple Maps also has this feature. There's another thing I want to say about it. It's not only if the network is down, although that's the obvious thing. If the network goes down, you want maps. I'm thinking of buying a Thomas guide in paper myself, but well, Raymond's advice is good. But there's another risk, not just the network going down. Do you have GPS when you want it? If you're in a building and you need a map, there's one example. Sometimes these disaster prep is sometimes good for non-disasters, right? Even a non-disaster, but I need maps and I'm in a place where maybe I got network, but I don't have GPS. There's one more thing. So in the solar storm 2 weeks ago, some people still had network, but they didn't have GPS. Amusing story of a farmer in North Dakota whose tractor runs on GPS and it was running in circles. That was because the GPS was disturbed by the solar storm. I know there's no end of prep and I might sound like a paranoid nut here, but I like having the offline maps. If because I'm never sure if I have GPS and I'm never sure if I have network. And last thing, you can always test it by going into airplane mode with Wi-Fi off. And so far, it's worked for me pretty good. I'm gonna do what Raymond said and adjust the map to the area of interest and download a whole bunch of Bay Area.
Thank you, Michael. Nick?
So when you download a map, can you still search it for like addresses or businesses? Does it, or is it just really, how much data is actually in that map?
I don't know the answer to that question. I think that when you get the street outlines, but I don't know. I've not tried to, for example, like calculate directions over that map and see whether it can plot directions on that map data.
Once or
try.
twice I've tried that locally and it worked. But I didn't try it for like here to Fremont or anything like that. But in theory, it should work. And Nick's question leads to an interest. When I get that whole Bay Area on my phone, I'm going to try what he said.
Okay, well, thanks.
So that covers the app portion of tonight's meeting.
That was very good. Thank you, Raymond. I really appreciate all the effort you put into that. And if you need to depart and get some sleep, feel free to do that. I guess it's getting kind of late there.
Yeah, I might just turn off my screen, but I'll just leave the meeting running until, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna get ready for bed. But listen in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. So I don't know, did you and Blake work out some other topics we were going to go over?
I think Michael was gonna now talk,
Oh.
give us an update on
Wildfire.
wildfires.
I'm going to try to run through this in 10, 15 minutes at max. Is that okay? There's 6 slides, I think, maybe 7.
Go for it.
Let me get to the share thing. And tell me if you're, let me hit slideshow. And when I do this, you should see, let's see. That's a title slide I think you see. I don't see what you see, so it's confusing.
No, we see the title slide, Albany CERT, 5th Wednesday.
Okay.
And
now
now
I'm hoping you see fire risk study of Albany Hill. Is that visible?
Yep.
Okay, good. Now, if you're looking on a phone, it will be a little hard to see. The left is the cover of the report, Characterization of Fuels and Fire Hazards, on the state of California, and with some money from the city, paid for some pretty serious studies of what we're up against here. We have a hill of trees that are blighted. The entire hill has got about 5 different kinds of fungus. The eucalyptus are in danger. The oaks are okay. The middle image is a model of how much fuel there is for a fire, and where the green the green blob in the middle are the trees at the top of the hill. I'd say cut them all down except their monarch butterfly habitat. So what are we going to do? Well, the model also looked very carefully at potential fire scenarios, and computer models of fires were created after this computer model of fuel was created. By the way, the fuel model in the middle was also not just computers with satellite images, but people walked the hill, people walked the neighborhoods and characterized the trees and the shrubs, etc., to measure what they thought the fuel load was. The result was that if a fire starts on Albany Hill with the prevailing southwest wind, you get red embers on the right that are going to spread around Albany. Sometimes I might use the word the ember map. This is what I'm talking about, is the map with the red dots on the right. Some of those red dots are on places like my house. Some of those fuel loads that are heavy, I won't mention anyone's name, but some people at this meeting here today are in the middle of some pretty thick green, greenish blue on that map. I wanted to say that, so we have the prevailing southwest wind, but the fire study looked at two different kinds of wind patterns, the prevailing and also, these green arrows are confusing. The wind rows on the left shows the kinds of winds we experience in Albany. When it's from the southwest, there's one set of risks. When it's from the east, beware. The 1923 fire that went from up the hill almost to campus was fueled by an east wind. The 1991 tunnel fire, I think it was 91, I hope I said that right, was also an east wind. Now, the funny thing about the Diablo wind is it shifts around. So it's really pushing the fire around and different directions. This is why the tunnel fire destroyed thousands of homes, thousands, I read. I think it was about 3,000. So what are we going to do? We have to balance the need to reduce the fuel load on the hill with preserving monarch habitat. This is big science here. The state and the city, mostly the state, I think, funded. Creekside Science wrote another report. They flew a drone over the hill to characterize the trees and the canopy and the wind. The image, the left image, is a cover of the report with a picture of the aftermath of the 2022 fire and a picture of monarch butterflies on nearby trees to that fire. The middle picture is a computer-generated graphic of what the drone saw as it flew over Albany Hill from the south. That south wind that can spread that is most likely to be prevailing if we get a fire is that also the butterflies are vulnerable to that south wind. It's just kind of interesting. And the rightmost picture shows there's a black outline in the rightmost picture, shows you where the fire was and how it overlaps the monarch trees. How are we going to manage this thing? There's a link. I'm going to send this presentation to the roops.io. There are links you can follow if you'd like to read the reports. I've been puzzling over these reports for months. I think to me, this is important for people who are working on the Hill, people who are concerned about fire risk on the Hill, people who are being asked, all of us are being asked to contribute our opinions to the Albany Hill Eucalyptus Project, and what should we do about it? On the what should we do, the first thing is, you have to take care of yourself and prepare. I'm just learning wildfire readiness, know where to evacuate. Our first choice evac is the Golden Gate Fields parking lot. If it's inaccessible, look at Genesis Protect. One hopes, will have evacuation instructions. The image at the lower right is a fire-resistant box. It's good to have one for your valuable papers. Well, beware of some cheapo deals on Amazon. There's a guy on YouTube, he's got a video, he bought 10 different boxes from Amazon, set up a campfire. It's a terrible video. He throws box after box on the campfire. 8 out of 10 of the boxes burned. The one I illustrated here is at Harbor Freight for under, maybe it's $45. Let's see. Watch. There's these red flag warnings and fire weather watches, and the fire station will put a red flag up. That's an image of a red flag in Oakland a couple of years ago. I couldn't find a picture of a red flag in Albany. Believe I've seen them. Now, can we stop these things from happening in the first place? Well, if it happens, you got to get out. All the experienced people tell me that if it happens, you got to get out. But can you stop it? Well, you can harden your home by reducing some of the fire fuels around your house. If you've got landscaping, hopefully it's not touching your structure. There's a lot of instructions here. From these various groups. I highly recommend Oakland Fire Safe. They've got one of the most detailed sets of resources of how to prepare your home and how to deter it from burning in a fire. Funny how every community around us has a fire safe council, but Albany doesn't. Maybe that's enough to have El Cerrito Fire Safe and Berkeley Fire Safe and Kensington and West Contra Costa. Maybe that is enough, and maybe we don't need one. I'm serious. But ask yourself if we're doing enough to deter what might be inevitable. The second bullet on the right, the weeds to wildflower restoration. I'm just going to try to run quickly through a couple of those. Kite Hill and Woodside. That's paid for by the town. That's a rich town. Interesting. The fire chief in Woodside sent a postcard to every property owner. Mow monthly, not once or twice a year. I thought that was very interesting. Kite Hill is beautiful. It's mowed very carefully, and nobody ever pulls up weed by hand. Some instructions on how to see it. Fossil Hill on Walnut Creek. This is a volunteer effort. This is dozens of volunteers. And this stuff doesn't burn the way weeds do, okay? These volunteers don't only see it as fire protection. They also see it as beautifying and naturalizing a disturbed environment. And they've done an amazing job. We might have to do this. We might need new crew, get more volunteers to do work like Walnut Creek on Albany Hill. And we do have workers. We do have a nice crew from Urban Tilth that the city has an agreement with. The picture on the right is Urban Tilth working on Albany Hill near the creek. Pretty weedy area that is getting a lot of attention right now. If you go by there, maybe you recognize it. If you go by there, you'll say it's still weedy. Well, yeah, we're having to pay a lot of attention there to try to keep those weeds down. Don't fault us if we can't stop them. We may need a lot more volunteers in coming months. I'm told this by some of the consultants for the Albany Hill Eucalyptus Project. On the lower right are West Contra Costa volunteers clearing an evacuation route of some foliage that fell. And, they feel like their lives depend on it. So they've got a pretty good crew too. Anything else? Yeah, I wanted to mention the Northern Alameda County radio operators. They go out on fire patrol on days with the Berkeley Fire on days like July 4th when fire risk is high. They would rather spot a fire early than wait for a report on a day when there's fireworks. That's my talk. I hope I didn't go too long.
Thanks, Mike. That was really, really good. I mean, it's interesting how you mentioned that, everyone around us has a fire safe council, but not Albany, although we have this major, major, massive fuel sitting down right next to your home, at least. I mean, there are also other areas that I guess embers could blow over and start other tree fires, and there's plenty of other fuel, but it isn't quite as concentrated as it is on the hill.
In theory, a bad enough fire on the hill, it says in one of the models showed the fire spreading to El Cerrito Plaza.
Yeah.
That's a
With
computer
that-
model. I'm not saying that will happen, but that's what the plan, we have to plan for this possibility.
Right. I think it's, again, we tend, I don't think anyone in this group right now, but I always get really interested with the condominium projects that are on the west side of the hill are just nestled into all this, and they're obviously going to be significantly impacted, especially if the wind comes from the east. Do you know of is there anything being done with those properties about trying to reduce fuel load? I think
I don't have good news. So I asked the supervisor of Albany Hill Park, could we use the money instead of taking out trees is expensive and the state's willing to throw a bunch of money at us. And I said to her, can we use the money to take out trees on the private property? Most of that hill doesn't belong to Albany. The majority of that hill is private property. An enormous part of it is private, but they already built on the part they could build. So it's now designated open space. All the woods behind those apartments, most of the woods behind those apartments, you can't build any more there. It's at maximum density. So that means that the woods will be there. A lot of those are trees the butterflies don't care about, and we would love to take out, but the state money will not pay for to take trees off private property. So we're stuck with, we will lose a lot of trees. A lot of the trees between Jackson Street and Taft, not interesting to butterflies, not interesting to anybody. They are very likely to be removed. I hope I didn't ramble in answering your question.
No, that's again, it'd be interesting to know, since so much is private property, is there a responsibility to sort of try to mitigate that, or is it just?
I have been puzzling over what can the fire chief order? Can he just say, I don't care if it's public, I don't care if it's private, it's a hazard, this has to get mowed? I think he can, but I don't really know the details.
Great. Well,
he did remark about wanting some, about 6 months ago, he made a remark about wanting some volunteers for Peggy Thompson Park. I'm not sure what he has in mind, but that's another call for volunteers that could imaginably happen this year.
Good. Well, I guess, Blake, did you have something you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, the only thing I'd like to kind of, since we're coming to the end, I just want to remind people that while we're just wrapping up the current CERT training, the next CERT training will be in September, and it'll finish at the end of October before Halloween. So we'll be putting lots of information out on our Albany e-News, and you'll see flyers at the community center in different places. So I encourage people who you could check with your neighbors and friends and people and see who there would like to do CERT training and encourage them to join the program. It's always a fun thing. We do have a limit somewhat to that group, but we don't seem to exceed it. But we are always ready to add more people to our crew.
Yeah, well, that's great. So you have spaces in that class right now.
Yeah, well, right now the class just finished its 7th session, so we're doing the final in a week. And so then we're done until We start again in September, around September. I can give you the date just to let people know, but that's September 10. September 10 is the first training, Tuesday, September 10, and it rolls for the next 10 weeks after that.
Yeah, and there's no list. I mean, anyone who wants to could sign
Yeah,
up
anybody
now.
wants to, and we've had a number of people who contact us that either work in Albany, but they live somewhere else. We've had other people who are nearby cities who just want to get the training done. If we have extra space as we get close to it, we do invite people from outside of Albany to join us. But we really would like to favor Albany people here. The other thing that's going on is, the fire department is working with getting CERT expanded to a CERT light in the UC Village with that new big high-rise space. They're adding, 850 beds or something in that building. They want to have a CERT program modified for students, like a campus CERT, if you will. It's a program FEMA has, and that will be something that will allow people. There's a lot of transient and not only leadership, but also in the students. They've committed to take it on. The fire department's going to work directly with them for that. Another thing, very interesting too, and I won't take too long, but just we applied to try to get a program with Cal OES, Listos, to get CERT training for non-English speaking segments of our population. So we put together a grant request, and we just got awarded last week a grant from Cal OES to put it on. And what the program would be is over 18 months, we'd be going through, and we've figured out kind of the top languages that where it's tougher and for people to understand if it's not in their language. So our goal is to get trainers in those specific languages to teach CERT training here in Albany. What that does is it will give us a common language, even if we don't speak the same language together. If we're going there we need support and help in our places, and other people show up and they don't necessarily speak well, but they understand the actions, that could be very helpful.
Blake, I want to say something about that. Is looking at the census data, we think the number one group of non-English speaking residents of Albany are people who speak Chinese, Mandarin, or Cantonese. If anyone knows someone who's bilingual, who is a bilingual person who is interested, or maybe already a CERT member, or already could be a Red Cross volunteer, or someone who's into resilience and is bilingual. And there may be other languages that we've got, I guess what the phrase, Blake, got to run through the numbers today. He used that phrase with me. Got to look at the stats and see what languages are most important. You may have your opinions. If you know bilingual people who might be candidates to become CERT trainers, we want to know who that is. Maybe they would like to know about the Listos grant. We'll make it worth their while. Correct, Blake?
That's correct. And I think we should probably put a little some sort of public information out on Albany News or whatever about the grant when we're doing that, just so more people can understand the scope and our needs. Maybe we can utilize that method.
To be clear about me shooting my mouth off there, nobody in Albany CERT's team is going to take home any money from this grant at all. But the bilingual interpreter, we do expect they would get. They would need some kind of compensation and some kind of encouragement. That's our expectation. And Listos, that is the Office of Emergency Services in the state of California, agreed with that.
Well, we're still at the beginning stages of working out how to do the outreach, and we're going to work with the fire department in the city. Hopefully we can do a pretty good canvassing of the area and
Consider this first outreach. Anybody know any bilingual disaster prep enthusiasts? That's what we're going to be searching for the next few months.
yeah, so that's good. So watch out what you wish for. All of a sudden you have to do something.
We are there.
Yeah. So the last thing I wanted to sort of talk about was block captain. And I actually would like to suggest that our next, I know we've done it in the past, but it's been a while, but maybe our next fifth Wednesday would be a focus on how do I become a block captain and just walk people through that. I think a lot of people, I mean, we have a couple people on this meeting. I think Jack and Israel could be candidates and probably are interested in how that happens. In the interim, you can go to the city's website and look for, I think it's how do I become a block captain? They have, different, or even in their frequently asked questions, look for block captain. And under the fire departments, they have a page on block captains, and there's a block captain manual. The basic gist is that you just become a point of contact and information for your direct neighbors, usually on your numbered block. So if you're, on Francis at, 1400, you'd do the 1400 block of Francis, which doesn't exist, but don't quote me on that. So it's, in Albany, some of the blocks are bigger than others. You have to be a little creative, but the idea would be that each block would at least have one person that kind of was in touch with a majority of their neighbors, in a reasonably frequent manner, and helping them get information and get prepared, and would be a source of starting emergency response when a big disaster happened. So there's a bit of time you spend, but it's not a lot. And it's actually a good way to meet your neighbors and help people out as you collect a lot of good information and then push it out to your neighbors. So I encourage people who are thinking about it to, look at the block captain manual. I don't know, when's our next fifth Wednesday meeting?
It's July, I think. I'm not sure.
Oh, is it that soon?
Yeah. And I see Nona has her hand raised too, so she's.
Oh, sorry, Nona.
Yeah, just want to remind people CERT refresher course in the fall. I'm not sure yet if it's good to have it in September or maybe mid-October. Yeah. Just
Yeah,
think
those are
about
really
it.
good.
If you need a refresher, it should be happening around that time. I don't want it to conflict with the actual training that Blake is running, so it's not, we don't get, overwhelmed. Yeah, but just
Donna,
think
may
about
I
it.
may I ask you? I haven't talked to you I haven't talked to you hardly at all. But the last time I heard your voice, you were searching for good material and exercises for the refresher. Did you find what you were looking for?
Well, I ended up, I was trying to develop a curriculum on PowerPoint. So I did 1, 2, whatever. Somebody did 5, 6, and I did the rest of them on PowerPoint.
If you would, if
yeah.
you have any interest in sharing your refresher material,
Sure.
I've had some people ask me, hey, do you have the refresher? And also at least one person here at the meeting has been to your refresher and gave it glowing reviews. I've heard great things from more than one person about the refresher.
Yeah. Well,
good.
what I did was I kind of updated it, even used Christopher Wray's report on the current risk of terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be more up to date, because some of the data on the FEMA website, on the PowerPoint, I think they really need to be updated. I didn't cover psychology because we didn't have enough time, and Unit 9, which is basically the disaster simulation. And a lot of people wanted to have that be held at the fire department because they want an actual, experience with all the the drama, the theater. But I felt also because the disaster psychology is a little bit too textual, it needs to be updated as well. Yeah, so I didn't cover that, but everything else I did some kind of a little bit of visuals just to make it more relatable. Yeah, I'm happy to share.
I
A little
hope
bit of humor.
I hope we get a chance to follow up on this.
Yeah, I'll send it to you
Sure,
if
thanks.
you want. Yeah.
So the next CERT community meeting, fifth Wednesday, is July 31. So that's 2 months. So we could address some of these topics, Nick, that you were talking about. And I'm curious from the group, if we were to get the community center available and on Zoom combo, or I don't know, what's people's preferences for meeting?
Hybrid is good.
Yeah, go ahead, Nona.
Hybrid is good, like Zoom and in person.
You like that? Yeah.
Yeah, just so that people who can't make it there physically have access to it on Zoom.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that the new AV there is designed for that.
Mm.
Yeah, I always find, we usually have like 12, 15 at most people. So if it does happen live, you don't need that big a space for it. But it would be nice to get more people to show up. I usually like the Zoom. It's very convenient to be able to just be there, but then you can't really interact with people as much. So pros on both sides.
Yep.
I missed something. Are we talking about the fifth Wednesday meetings, or are we talking about?
Yes, on the next one's 2 months away.
I'm hearing some support for the idea, so let's look into what it would take to have us. I don't think we need the city council chambers, but is there another option?
Well, the community center where the library has a new AV system, and supposedly it works really well with a live presentation and Zoom complement tied in. I have not checked it out, but that's how I understood what was going on. I'll do my best to understand more about that.
They seem to let us meet there for free sometimes when they would charge others, so maybe that will work.
Yeah, that's an option. Well, okay. Does anybody else have any questions or comments that they want to raise about just emergency preparedness in Albany? Or hopefully we were able to provide some additional information. We also have our website that has a lot of good links.
This has been really great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, good. If people are interested in being a block captain, send an email to Albany CERT, Albany CERT @gmail.com. That's our main email address, and we can kind of provide some more information on being a block captain. So I guess with that, we can wrap it up. And I'm thinking,
I'll give another special thanks to Raymond for preparing those videos. That was a bunch of work on a day when you had other work. Thanks for doing that. It was well worth doing.
Yeah, that was interesting. No, but I see Sally has her hand raised.
One, it's a clapping emoji.
Oh, it's a clapping.
For his
Well,
work.
thank you. Thank you. And Nona, did you have any final thing you want to say?
When is the next meeting again? Sorry. July
July 31.
31. Oh.
So that's 2 months from today, or almost 2 months from today.
I think I'm gonna be gone then, but anyway,
Yeah. Well, some of us will be here. We'll have a meeting.
yeah. Okay, well, I think on that, happy trails and everyone stay safe and hopefully stay involved. You know, we can always use more help and appreciate volunteer efforts. And with that, good night.
Great to see all faces.
Night, thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I don't know if we can turn